If you're over 50 and you've tried everything, cutting carbs, walking every morning, skipping dessert, and that midsection still won't budge, you are not imagining things. Your body has genuinely changed, and the old rules no longer apply. In this video, you're going to learn exactly why belly fat behaves differently after 50, what's actually driving it at a hormonal and metabolic level, and what science says can finally move it. By the end of this video, you'll know the 5 real reasons belly fat gets locked in after 50, including one that almost no health channel ever mentions. Let's get into it. Here's something your doctor probably hasn't told you. After 50, your belly fat is listening to your stress hormones, not your calorie count. When you're under chronic stress or when you're not sleeping deeply, your body produces a hormone called cortisol. Think of cortisol as your body's emergency alarm. It's useful in short bursts, but when it stays elevated day after day, your body interprets that as a survival crisis. And its response to a survival crisis? Store fat, specifically in the belly. Why the belly? Because visceral fat, the deep fat around your organs, is close to the liver and can be converted to energy quickly if the body needs it in an emergency. Your body is literally protecting you, just in the wrong way for modern life. After 50, cortisol regulation becomes less efficient. Even moderate stress, a difficult week at work, poor sleep, a family worry, can keep cortisol elevated for days longer than it did in your 30s. And the more cortisol, the more fat gets directed to your midsection. Diet alone cannot override this signal. The first step isn't cutting more food. It's understanding that your nervous system is running a fat storage program in the background, and it needs to be addressed directly. Coming up next, we're going to talk about a change in the way your body handles carbohydrates after 50 that almost nobody explains properly. Here's a fact that surprises a lot of people. The same bowl of oats that was fine for you at 38 may now be quietly adding to your belly fat at 55. After 50, most people develop some degree of insulin resistance. Here's what that means in plain terms. Normally, when you eat carbohydrates, your body produces insulin to move sugar out of the bloodstream and into your cells for energy. It's a clean, efficient system. But with insulin resistance, which becomes far more common with age, especially when cortisol is also high, your cells stop responding properly to insulin. So instead of the sugar going into your muscles and organs for fuel, more of it gets converted and stored. And where does the body store it? You already know the answer. This is why someone can eat what they'd consider a healthy diet, whole grains, fruit, moderate carbs, and still see their waistline grow. It's not that they're eating badly, it's that their body's response to carbohydrates has fundamentally changed. The fix isn't necessarily a zero-carb diet, but it does mean the types, timing, and combinations of carbohydrates matter much more than they used to. Stay with me because the next section covers something that almost every belly fat video completely ignores. Most belly fat conversations center on the stomach, but the real story is happening one organ higher, in your liver. Your liver has one of the most important jobs in your body. Among many things, it's responsible for processing incoming dietary fat and either using it for energy or packaging it for removal. Think of it like a sorting facility. When it's working well, fat moves through efficiently. But here's the problem. As we age, and especially as cortisol and blood sugar stay elevated, the liver can become what's called fatty or sluggish. This isn't a diagnosis, it's a spectrum, and even a mildly overworked liver starts to store incoming fat rather than process it. That stored fat accumulates, and a significant portion of it ends up as visceral belly fat. The reason this matters so much is that most belly fat advice, cut calories, do more cardio, count your macros, does nothing to directly support liver function. So people follow all the advice, see minimal results, and blame themselves. But they're addressing the symptom, not the source. When you support your liver's ability to process and release stored fat, the downstream effect on your belly can be significant and faster than you'd expect. If this is helping you finally understand why belly fat after 50 behaves so differently, do me a quick favor and tap the like button. It genuinely helps us reach more people who need this information. You've probably heard you can't spot reduced fat, and that's true, but there's a more specific problem when it comes to belly fat after 50. Visceral fat, the deep belly fat around your organs, does not respond to abdominal exercises at all. Crunches, sit-ups, planks, these strengthen your core muscles, which is genuinely useful, but they don't touch visceral fat because visceral fat is not removed through muscle contraction. It's removed through hormonal and metabolic signals. The only exercise that meaningfully impacts visceral fat is sustained moderate intensity cardio, walking briskly, cycling, swimming, because this type of movement temporarily lowers cortisol and improves insulin sensitivity, not because it burns the belly fat directly. This means the approach that actually works is hormonal and metabolic. You need to lower cortisol, improve liver function, and address insulin sensitivity. Then the fat has a reason to leave. Now for the part of this video that most people find genuinely surprising, and that very few health channels cover. Specific plant compounds have been studied for their ability to directly signal the liver to release stored visceral fat. This isn't a general wellness claim. These are specific studied mechanisms. The first is fucoxanthin, a natural pigment found in certain brown seaweeds. In clinical studies, fucoxanthin has been shown to activate a protein in belly fat cells that increases fat oxidation, essentially flipping a metabolic switch in the liver that tells it to process stored fat rather than hold it. The second is citrus pectin, a soluble fiber compound found in citrus rinds. Research has shown it improves the liver's ability to clear fat from the bloodstream more efficiently, reducing the amount that gets stored as visceral fat in the first place. These aren't magic cures, but they are specific targeted compounds that address the exact mechanism we've been discussing throughout this video, liver-driven visceral fat storage. There are formulas that combine these and similar plant compounds, including products like Icarial Lean Belly Juice and Nagano Tonic, that are built around this liver support mechanism rather than generic fat burning. If you've tried the usual approaches and nothing has moved, this may be worth looking at. The link is in the description below. Let's bring this together because there's a lot here and I want to make sure it sticks. 1. After 50, chronically elevated cortisol from poor sleep and daily stress directly signals your body to store fat in your belly. Calories are not the main driver. 2. Insulin resistance increases with age. Even moderate carb intake can result in more visceral fat storage when cortisol is also high. 3. Your liver is the unsung key player. A sluggish liver stores fat instead of processing it, and almost all belly fat advice ignores this completely. 4. Crunches and ab work do nothing for visceral fat. Only hormonal and metabolic interventions, specifically lowering cortisol and improving insulin sensitivity, move deep belly fat. 5. Specific plant compounds, including fucoxanthin and citrus pectin, have clinical evidence showing they directly support liver fat release, and measurable waste reduction has been documented in studies without diet changes. If you want to go deeper, we have a video on exactly how to lower cortisol naturally. I'd recommend watching that next. And if you want simple, science-backed health content every week, subscribe to Simply Wellness. The link is right below. We're here every week with information that actually explains what's happening in your body in plain language.